we did that thing.
Yeah, we did that.
That's kind of why we sound like this.
Yeah, we did a lot, and I think, let's just go right into our favorite part of coaching school. We, I guess this was Monday morning, I believe, we went to an event called Muffins and Mimosas with the THSCWA, which is
Don't forget the dub.
Yeah, don't forget the dub, Texas High School Coaches Wives Association. So they have events all throughout the year, and it's basically just a big event where coaches' wives will gather, and it's kind of like a support system. Mm-hmm. If you can imagine, being a coach's wife is probably extremely difficult. I mean, working long hours, going pretty much the whole day, especially during the season, without seeing their husband. So having that support system, having other ladies around you that are going through the exact same thing as you are, I think that is an absolutely genius idea. And it's been around since the, I think, mid-'80s, I saw. So this has been going on for a long time. We, last week on our premiere of Women Talking Football, we got to talk to the president, Miss Karen Story of the event. So we actually did not get to meet her at the event because she was super busy. And we
saw her up on the stage.
We did. We saw her make her speech up on the stage. She did her thing. She was good. But we didn't get to meet her, unfortunately, but definitely got to see her. And they also had a guest speaker there who was her name is Debbie McGuire. A lot of you know Coach Joey McGuire, the new head Texas Tech football coach.
And if you don't become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber, he's on our cover.
Yeah, he is actually on our. Is that who's on our cover?
That guy.
That guy.
The guy in the red.
Yes,
I've heard of him.
If you haven't been on Twitter lately, you should, because Texas Tech's all over it. But no, Miss McGuire, she got up there and kind of basically just broke down her experience with being a coach's wife, and now she's the coach's wife of a head Power 5 football coach, and so I just can't even imagine what she's going through, but I thought one of the most interesting parts of her entire speech was every time she referred to herself or her husband, Joey McGuire, she referred to them as we. Yep. Yeah, she sees them as a team. And I think that was one of the biggest messages that everybody in the room took away from that event was you should see you and your husband as a team. And I think everything is just easier after that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that was the thing that like there's a lot of times when you're talking about a couple like that and like a strong foundation that you can see the we in a couple of things, like, oh, we went and did this, or we went. No, like we're talking about like when she, the one thing that stuck in my brain was when she would say, when we took the Baylor job. Yes, when we took the Texas Tech job, and the we wasn't just her and him, it was also their son Garrett, who's not the head coach, a coach with the Carolina Panthers squad, and then their daughter, who is a fashion designer up in New York. So you look at FBS head coaching and fashion designing in New York, you don't see a lot of similarities, but their paths obviously cross so much. And she said that they made the decision as a family. And it was cool when we were at that Muffins and Mimosas, listening. Every time she would talk, it almost felt like we were in a church sermon. Yeah. Because everyone's head, like she would get to a point and everyone's head would nod at the same time. Like I was waiting for a amen. That's how it felt. And it was cool to see. And we see women working in sports broadcasting that we're like, oh man, taking in information. How did you get here? We asked Dr. Elza that on episode 1. Yeah. How did you end up here? Tell me your backstory, because that's typically the best way that you learn these things. It was really cool to see the coaches' wives it could have been a coach's wife where this is their husband's first ever job and he's primarily teaching middle school PE, but he gets to be on the sidelines during the varsity game. And it was just like, looking at her like, this is so cool. Like that could be me one day, it's relatable, but it gives people a hope of like, hey, if we become a team, like the sky's the limit. Yeah, exactly. Well, and she started off with, she told their entire story all the way from when McGuire was an assistant at Crowley, I believe it was, all the way up until now. And yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of those women in there, they're dating the quarterback's coach at a 3A school or something. But you can still relate to them in that aspect of you've got to see yourself as a team or you're not gonna succeed. And I really liked the part
that Debbie said. She said that when McGuire was offered the Texas Tech job, he didn't say anything until he FaceTimed his entire family.
Yep.
They got onto a group call because they're not all together. His daughter went to Texas Tech. She actually attended there. I think she graduated a couple years ago, but now she, like you said, lives in New York as a major fashion designer, and her son is an assistant at the Carolina for NFL. And he did not speak a word of it until he was able to get on FaceTime with all of them together and then tell them. And then Debbie was like, yep. And then that's when we made the decision that we were going to take the Texas Tech head coaching job. So I don't know. I thought it was we couldn't really relate to the actual story, but it really just opened your eyes into what a coach's wife actually is like. And that's something that we want to dive into too. We're going to have coaches' wives on here as well at some point, because we want to dig even deeper into that and, their experiences and just get to know what their lives are really like behind their husbands.
The part that I thought was most funny was Debbie was talking about how she was supposed to, when they were going through the interview process here at Tech, she was supposed to be going to the Carolina Panthers game.
Oh, that's
that weekend.
That's right.
So she was going to go watch her son. Like, she tries to go out a couple times a year and get to go watch a Panthers game. And I think she said they were playing the Patriots, but because
it was a big game, whatever it was. Yeah, she didn't want to miss it.
And she knew that this was coming, and Coach McGuire was like, no, you can go ahead and go. And she said, I had this gut feeling like, I need to stay. This is the right thing. And she said, for those of you who don't know, the Texas Tech athletic director is Kirby Hocutt.
Yeah.
And when she goes, I don't remember this at all. Maybe I blacked out. I don't know. But she said he's coming down the escalators at the airport. The McGuires are there to meet him. And Miss Debbie said she just goes, wreck him. And she was like, Joey kind of turned and looked at her like, are you okay? And apparently Coach Hocutt, Mr. Hocutt, Dr. Hocutt, I would assume, was like, that's the moment I knew. I mean, you want to talk about marketing yourself, about branding for the university. But when you're lucky enough to know those two, you can totally tell that that absolutely happened. She's like, I think I just kind of blacked out for a moment, but I just wreck him. It's like,
and it's funny.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. And it's when you look at both of them on the stage, they both have very different ways of talking to people, right? He is very comfortable in front of a crowd. He can, man. Oh my gosh, he can sell you a meat on a stick if you wanted to. Like, he could sell you anything. But she's a little bit more timid on the mic, But the way that those two both command a room, I mean, once they get up there, all eyes are on them. There's no phones. You want to listen. You want to be engaged in the conversation. So I'm going to say, I think Texas Tech hit a home run with these two. 110%. I mean, they are doing a fantastic job of building their brand and marketing for the team. And yeah, I'm excited for football season already to watch those two dominate up there.
No kidding. And so thank you to the Texas High School Wives Association for letting us crash there. I mean, we literally just walked in.
We did. We were like, hey guys,
hi, we're here.
We're gonna steal a seat.
we're not a coach's wife, but we're here. So that was a ton of fun. And then the rest of coaching school was great too. It's a marathon I feel like most people know how it works, but we set up in the exhibitors hall, and it's just a massive room. And if you've been to literally any sort of convention where everyone has tents and they're passing out goodies or they're doing whatever, but we have a booth and we sit there and we do a ton of interviews. We had so many, and it's funny because people come up, some of our Bally friends came up to us. And they have a room upstairs where they set up a very professional looking studio. They get a ton of unbelievable content. So they're really the only other people doing interviews there like us. A lot of the rest of them are writers and stuff that'll go to the press conferences. But they set up and they go, how many interviews have y'all done? And we're like, well, at this point we're pushing 60, and they're kind of looking at us like, you crazy people. And I'm like, well, welcome to Dave Campbell's.
And one of those interviews that we do is we have those coaches guess who the celebrity is. So not super formal, but
So we have those, like the 57. I think we're at 57. Those were like literal sit down 5 to 10 minute interviews. Then we also have the bit set that we started when we went to coaching school last year. So just a ton of goofy content and stuff. But they come up and they're like, do y'all schedule all these out? And we're like, nah, dude. When you have Matt Stepp and Greg Tepper standing there, people just walk up and are like,
you know who,
hey, where's my interview?
You know who the most impressed person was that Stepp and Tepper just know? Craven. He keeps talking about it. He's like, I don't understand. Come on, Michael. I don't understand how those two do it. Like, I don't have enough information enough space in my head to know all that information. And I can relate to that. But Craven just kept going on and on and on about it. Yeah, they are. They really are.
Well, I had to look. We're sitting there, and I had to sit there and look at Matt Stepp, and I was like, no more. Like,
we did.
I'm putting my foot down
to do that.
No more interviews. And the reason being is, like, it's great. We love all the content. We got to turn around and edit all this stuff, man.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah,
thank goodness. Shout out to our intern, Ryan Baldwin. He's out there doing the bit set stuff right now, and you've been cranking through the coaches' interviews and everything. But I was like, brother, you got to chill. And so then the guy, being Matt Stepp and who he is, excuse me, he goes, we see him, and he's like, okay, Pickle, okay. And then all of a sudden I turn around and he's just sitting at the bit set, like just sitting at the bit set scanning. And I'm like, this guy's tweaking. Like, he's actually going to start like,
well,
I need interviews. And I was like, he's sick.
Yeah.
He's sick in the head. We love you, Stepp, and glad you made it back safe to Canada.
Yeah. And one more thing. Tepper came back from emceeing an event at coaching school, and he's just standing there, and he's like, going like this and stuff. And he's like,
fidgeting.
I got to do an interview. I have to do it. And I'm like, dude, we're on day 2. Like, we're already halfway through day 2.
Stop.
How do you want to do another interview? Like, I don't get it. It's nuts.
So yeah, if you question mine and Mallory's role here at DCTF, like in general, coaching school kind of really sums that up of just like reeling in the nonsense. We like to add to the nonsense, but also a part of that is like keeping the nonsense to like a reasonable manner. But we had a great time out there. Over 16,000 coaches. It is unbelievable. If you're in the media, you got to get out there and go. Seriously, it is just, content gold. So we had a fantastic time with that, and appreciate everyone at the THSCA, the UIL for including us in everything. And there's no one that does it better than the Texas High School Coaches Association. So we appreciate all of them having us out.